again, I'm Jamie, and I teach at Academy of Hope with Taquana. Megan and I were asked today to present a lesson or some lessons that we have used in the classroom that put these DOK levels to work, put the students to work in the DOK level, and specifically to address how you can have all levels of learners get to all three levels. So how a lesson can go DOK 1, 2, and 3, even with your beginning readers, your intermediate, and then your GED ready people. So I came up with a lesson about evaluating arguments, which everyone probably knows by this point is a big part of the reading and language arts test of the GED. It addresses two of the newer learning objectives on the 2014 GED, delineating and evaluating the argument and specific claims in a text, including the validity of the reasoning, as well as the relevancy and sufficiency of the evidence, and analyzing how two or more texts address similar themes or topics. You probably noticed in looking over what's going to be on the new GED, and if you've had a chance to look at sampler items or a practice test, the students are reading two different articles about a topic. I'm getting a lot of head nods, so you know about that. And that really is something that's new with this test. So just a little bit of background to start. In addition, students have to begin working with more complex texts, and especially primary sources. Keep hearing this about the new test. Also, because the language arts test is now 75% nonfiction, which you may probably know now is a flip of what it used to be, you need to start including in classes more complex primary source documents that are both social studies and science related. So that also students are required to write about social studies and science materials. So it is most practical, I think, and I'm hoping people are coming to the same conclusion, that we really need to take, as Taquana mentioned, an interdisciplinary approach to learning now. So we are reading social studies and science materials in reading class. We're reading social studies and science materials in writing class because you're no longer writing about your favorite vacation or a trip you took to the zoo or something on a more adult level. You have to read a text and then write about the text. So we're going to get into that some. And of course, we're writing now in our reading class, in our science class, in our social studies class. So it's all blurring. So the lesson I want to present today could be for a reading, writing, or a social studies class, or all of the above. I'm including authentic primary sources about voting rights. So this also plays into the whole idea of talking about enduring issues in American history. How many people have seen that on the... Okay, well, on the extended response, when you're reading about that on the testing service website, there's talk about these enduring issues in social studies. So the democratic process is an enduring issue. The founding documents. So that's what I want to have students write about. They're going to have to know in various social studies questions in their writing about the founding documents, how they're relevant to today. So bringing voting rights in is something that they read and write and talk about. And social studies covers a lot of areas, so you'll see that as I'm going through. So as I said, the lesson is about evaluating arguments. And ultimately that, I'll give you the answer this time, I'll ask you later, is a DOK 3, depth of knowledge 3, when you're evaluating an argument. But I want to show you how you can bring that the lesson to that level in classes of learners who are at all reading levels. A little bit of a caveat. I'm calling them, for lack of better terms, beginning, intermediate, and advanced readers. At Academy of Hope, anyway, our starting classes are with readers about a 4th grade level. Our next level of classes, if you use CASAS, are in the CASAS 220s, basically 225. And then what I'm calling more advanced is our probably like at a 235, probably call them GED students. The ones before that, pre-GED, and then the lowest level are just getting started. Yeah, we start with a 4th grade level. I think of the middle as like middle school, and the last is high school. Okay, it's not official. I'm not an expert in that, but that's where I'm thinking when I'm planning lessons. The first handout you have is actually an example of guided note-taking, which is a practice you can use with your students. So instead of giving you a handout that has written on it everything I'm about to say, this is a scaffold or a frame or something that you could use to take notes. If you just ask students to take notes, you probably had some experience with this, they don't always know what's important to write down. So this gives them kind of a model. And you'll notice that some things I've given you blanks, some things I've written for you, and some things you're filling in information in a sentence. And you can play with this depending on the level of students. The first time you do it, you might want to write down most of the information and have a couple of blanks at the end. And then you can begin taking parts away as students are getting better at taking notes. I also want to say, and I know this is a caveat for Megan and myself, we do not get up and give a lecture like this to our students, okay? So I would never have talked as much as I just talked to my students, and I wouldn't give them guided notes to take on a lecture. They'd be using this from a reading. Okay, so they would have a reading, and I would be helping them take notes on the reading. So I just want to make that clear, because we're really trying to get away from the teacher standing up and lecturing model.